this is your host today, Sri Hari Atluri. Welcome back to NRI Samay, the listeners across the world. We bring an incredible story every Saturday and Sunday, every week, and today is no exception. We have Kishore Tiwari ji. He has been studying a lot on the farmers' issues around Vidarbha and also providing solutions. We want to hear from him. And Kishore ji, are you there?
Yes. Namaskar, Sri Hari ji.
Namaskar ji. Welcome to NRI Samay.
Yes. All listeners of the NRI Samay, we are from the Vidarbha, which is the epicenter of the farmer society. I welcome from the dying field. I welcome everybody.
Okay, thank you, sir. Listeners, there was a time when farmer was hailed as the nation's pride in India, but now we are living in a time where farmer has been reduced to mercy of others. The farmer is not living anymore. He's simply struggling for his mere survival. And in this scenario, and Vidarbha, of all the places in India, has been the epicenter of the farming crisis. Friends, Kishore Tiwari ji, we have on the call, so we will talk about those issues. And let me begin asking Kishore ji, why are farmers in Vidarbha facing such a great disaster? What makes Vidarbha so much different than Vidarbha's farmers different than other places in India? Is it the government policies or climatic conditions or the agricultural practices? Can you please give a brief on it?
If you go back to the history, Vidarbha is the cotton growing belt of India. And if you look at the percentage of the cotton grown in Maharashtra, which is the part of Vidarbha, so we are the highest yield was there, and it is a cotton growing belt, and the main cash crop is a cotton. So when India has introduced the globalization and free trade, the cotton has been subjected for the international volatility in prices. Then input cost of the cotton has gone up. So there was the crisis started with the cotton growing farmer. Not only in Vidarbha, all over India. But Vidarbha is witnessing the farm suicide 8 hourly a day since June 2005. Having introduced some of the rain sensitive seeds in this area, which is purely a drought-prone area, and the dryland farmers have been subjected for the rain-sensitive crops. They are losing, which is a cotton, they are losing lot of money. I would like to recall the listeners that recently the Union Agriculture Minister Sharad Pawar has announced in the Indian Parliament that Vidarbha farmers are losing 2,000 rupees crore per annum due to long crop selection and due to crop failure. So we are the victims, one side with the wrong crop selection, other side with the market forces and the market exploitation. So Vidarbha farmers are the innocent victims of the one hand with the policies, other hand with the what is called a very good technology being promoted to the wrong people.
Okay, so I think you were talking about the seeds, seeds. So can you give a little more information about what exactly is happening with the seeds, and when you say wrong technology is pushed to the farmers, can you elaborate on that one, please?
Clearly, the Maharashtra government and the Indian Council of Agriculture Research, main cotton research unit CIPR, had recently given a report to the Union Agriculture Minister saying that the technologies which is promoted in India and the farming crisis in Vidarbha is something has to do with the wrong policies of the government and wrong technologies being promoted. So with the Brazilian crop pattern, we have decided to promote our traditional seeds. So what is the traditional seed and what happened after Green Revolution to the seed? Initially the seed were hybrid seed, and from last 2005 onwards, the last decade you can say, hybrid seed, there is the problem of that is the pest and some genetic modification were done, and the seed itself made intoxicated plant, and that toxin was inserted. So but the technology which was brought was highly priced, but it was not suitable. That has been proven. So now government himself admitted that they want to do the experiment with the straight variety and traditional cotton seed. In fact, in India now, the seeds are not available, and some of the American companies which are promoting the cotton seed have created their monopoly. So there is a horizontal and vertical monopoly which is killing the farming community. So Indian farmers, particularly Vidarbha farmers, are not doing the suicide. They are being forced to kill themselves. These are the mass genocide for which the technology promoters, mainly the lawmakers of the India, are responsible.
Okay, sir. I know some background, but the listeners may not know. Listeners who doesn't have a background might be thinking, okay, there were traditional seeds which were okay, but then they brought some technological high advanced seeds which were really bad, and now we are going back to traditional seeds. But during this time, there are a lot of farmers who faced the financial crisis and which led into suicides. So so what happened? Can you give a little more information why the farmers had to switch from traditional to hybrid seeds, and now who is responsible? When you say the government is pushing those, can you give what exactly happened?
No, if we will recall the traditional seeds, we have to recall the era where the chemical farming was not there. Farmers were doing their natural farming, which was the organic farming. Now we have shifted from 1997 onward in the name of the farming, and the hybrid seed was given as a gift to the people for increase the productivity. Now the hybrid seed has inbuilt a problem, and which has given the pesticides and everything along with that. So the excessive use of the pesticide was the problem with the farmers, and pest was killing the yield. So in order to control the pest, we introduced some seeds intoxicated with the pesticides or insecticides. So the complications of the technology has increased the cost of the cultivation. But the farmers lost their seeds. Now in India, even Indian Council of Agriculture Research and Maharashtra government wants to have a desi seed or their traditional seed. There is no traditional seed available. Now what is that? The farmer wants to cultivate, he has to purchase the seed from a particular company. So now you can understand, the farmer has to bring the seeds being priced and being qualitatively generated by a particular company. Then the company recommends the pesticides and the fertilizers and micronutrients as per on their packet itself. Now, in the input, some remote company is controlling the farming community, and for the output, the same company is buying their product. So, Vidarbha cotton farmers have turned out to be the slaves, and we are living in a colony. So, with the context of the India, when we say the 256,000 farmers committed suicide in the last decade, more than 40,000 farmers have died in my belt. So one has to understand that if we lose the farming community which is giving food to us, India will have a problem. Certainly we are going towards a very serious problem. And the agrarian crisis of the Vidarbha will not be limited to the Vidarbha only. Now it has been spread to the other part of Maharashtra, and it is getting spread in other part of India where the cotton is cultivated. So we are once again clarifying that the farmer society is the indication of the far more deep distress and despair among the agrarian community or a rural community of India. So the people who are listening to me, they should understand that we are the victims. What they call what the people call them as a technology, and what the people call as a multinational companies turning out India with the second revolution. So you can understand in 2005 the total seed sale in my area was 200 crore. Now the total seed sale in my area crossing over 2,000 crore. Now there is no reduction in a pesticide use and massive increase in a fertilizer use. So the input cost has gone to the 20 times, whereas the selling cost of the cotton is as it is. So farmer has been losing a lot, resulting into the economic losses and resulting into the farm war crisis, which is deeper than the suicide, which is a simple indicator of the crisis.
Okay, so let me summarize from what I understood. So about 15 years ago, when the hybrid seeds were introduced, they were giving a better output, and they were probably not so expensive at the time. But as the years go on, the pesticides have impacted the land, and now land is much less cultivated, and also the price of the cost of production has increased so many times now, like 10-15 times. Is that right?
Yes, you understood the subject that the people, we have to have a monocrop and we have to have a single source of income. If their profitability in that profession is getting down, so it's the economic crisis, and Vidarbha is the real victim of that. Now the money has been siphoned out. There is no inflow of the money to the Vidarbha, and Vidarbha farmer has been losing a lot. So now government has been experimenting a lot. Now the farmer suicide issue of a Vidarbha is on an international radar, and Prime Minister visited in 2006 and given a bailout packet of 3,750 crore. Then additional packages were given. There was a loan waiver in India. Nothing has been working because of the issue is not addressed. The issue lies with the policies. India has to promote the policies which will protect the interests of their farming community, and which is not there. So we are the victims of the wrong policies and wrong technologies being promoted in order to safeguard the interests of few multinational companies. In fact, deep-rooted corruption in a planning commission and agriculture ministry is killing our farming community.
Okay, sir. We are talking about the policies. So one other thing that comes to mind, which has impacted the cotton farmers specifically, the export of cotton. So there is so much debate about whether the cotton should be allowed to export to other countries or not, because if the cotton is exported outside, then I think that will impact the clothing and clothing industry. So which I think they probably have to buy at a higher rate. But at the same time, if it's not allowed to export, the cotton is not allowed to export, then obviously the farmers will make much less money. So can you shed some light on this one?
Economic policies, one thing. Then import-export policies, which is being governed by a few people in the South Bloc, is the real issue. When last year there was a cotton crop failure in India, throughout the world also. So what is there? We are producing around 35 million bales, and our national consumption is around 20 million bales. Now, Indian textile mills want a cheaper cotton. Now we have a surplus stock, 15 million bales, and we want to export it. And Indian government should promote it as it is being promoted by United States and China. So, but Indian cartel of this textile mills is so strong that they just control the commerce ministry. And from last 2 years, When Indian cotton growers are likely to get a better price in the international market, they are just putting the restrictions over the exports. In fact, India has already lifted the quantity restriction under the guidelines of WTO in 2004 itself, when they were given time up to 2008. So we are just killing our farming community at all the places. You are increasing the cultivation cost and you are not allowing them to sell it. Now in the free trade, where is the question comes for the restriction of quality and quantity? There is no regulator in India, whereas all opposition parties and the ruling party are in the same basket. The textile mill owners govern all political parties. And surprisingly, the people who are killing themselves, they are also unorganized. So these are the mass genocide. It is done with the full knowledge of everybody. If I can speak, a lot of people can speak, but nobody is speaking over it. That is the unfortunate part. And we are killing innocent people, and that is in thousands and thousands. I think international community should raise the voice over it. And India, when the India will come on and will protect their own farming community. Now I can recall M.S. Swaminathan has recently spoken that if we are losing the farming community, then when the country will realize that there will be no food growers, and is it a scenario are you going to face? We are really very disappointed. When we analyzed in 2006, in a rural sector, official survey of government of Maharashtra has shown that more than 90% people are in deep distress. Apart from losing the crop failure, the rural health system, rural employment system, and rural privatization has really forced us to have a system failure. So we are in the Vidarbha really facing a lot of problems, and it is an integrated issue now. We are trapped in vicious circle and we cannot come out. Even we want to go back to our traditional cropping pattern, there is no way out. No way out. We cannot buy the traditional seed because they are not available, and we don't have any organism in our field and the environment to protect organic farming. So now we are at the mercy of the multinational companies and the government policies.
Sir, that is really unfortunate. You're talking about the traditional seeds. We had before on NRI Samay a couple of months ago, we had Vandana Shivaji. She is from Naudanya. I think part of what they are doing is to save the traditional seeds. So do you think more efforts like that can help, or do you think if you contact Vandana Shivaji, maybe she can help this, or is it much larger scale that you need?
No, NGO cannot do anything. Naudanya has been doing in Dehradun. Total traditional seed may be available with them. Some of the seeds they are multiplying. But it is a microfind or picofind activity. If a government is flooding with the multinational companies, the genetically modified terminated gene technology, you cannot save. If you look at these terminated gene technology being promoted or genetically modified promoted technologies growth in India, the 4 lakh hectare cultivation of the BT cotton was there in 2004. Now it has jumped to 120 lakh hectare. So Naudanya's work is remarkable, but we cannot work with the non-government organization. It should be a regulatory government organization that should provide the seed bank at local village level, and they should ban it first. When in a dryland area this seed pattern is not suitable, that seed should be banned. In fact, all type of chemical farming in Vidarbha, being epicenter of the farm society in India, it should be banned. So their grassroots steps should be taken. You cannot go on relying or depending upon the work of the one NGO that will provide our cattle to this farming community. In fact, Vandana Shiva is giving a guidelines to the government of India, and government of India should understand there are the problem with this traditional seed, a serious problem with the traditional seed, but the implication of this imported genetically modified seeds are very bad. Environmental experts are giving that they are nothing but a poison. And our ecological imbalances and some of the health issues are directly related to that. I do not know in detail, but the objections are very serious and that should be considered. But as an expert working with the farmers as an advocacy group, I have realized that farmers are losing the money and they should not opt for such cash crops in a certain massive scale. In Vidarbha, the West Vidarbha, where farmer societies are there, the 90% area is under cotton cultivation, which is not desirable. So some regulator is needed to regulate the quantity and quality of the crop pattern, whereas the government is not acting to that. And now we are, if I am asked, I can admit that we are too late to act over it. So if anybody has to act, is the government, that they should ban these companies' operation in India and they should provide the alternatives to the farming community and sustainable alternatives which adopted by the farmers of the adjacent to my area. I am speaking from just opposite to Andhra, Adilabad district, Pandrakavra. Some of the districts in Andhra, they have been practicing, around 8,000 villages are practicing the non-pesticidal management, and one of the men who has been instrumental to that was YSR Reddy and Vijay Kumar. So why government of Maharashtra is not going for that? And it was a massive scale operation is needed, and we have been demanding that. So with the NRI Samay, I will raise the issue with the government of India also, that let us adapt to that techniques that natural farming being promoted by Subhash Palekar in Amravati, being followed a lot of farmers in Karnataka, and in Andhra also, the Kavita is doing, the Sudhir is doing, then Kiran Kumar is doing. They all people have been doing a very good work. Our Ramu is doing very excellent work. We should ask them to join us. Government should partner them with, and we should have an official program to that extent that will save the Vidarbha farmers. Otherwise, we will have a much more gloomy picture in future.
Okay, that's excellent, sir. You mentioned in one of your responses, actually, friends, the listeners who are listening, the number you should call to talk directly with Kishore Tiwari ji is, if you are in United States, it's 323-410-0162. It is also on our website, nrisamay.com, or you can also chat with us. And if you are not in United States, you can always call using Skype. The Skype ID is NRISAMIY. So we have one caller on the line. He would like to ask a question. Sir, please go ahead with your name, location, and your question.
Tiwari ji, this is Srikant from Los Angeles, sir ji. My question to you is, farmer has become a weapon to form government. In Andhra Pradesh, Chief Minister has lost his power because a farmer was used as a weapon, saying the farmers are dying and you didn't do anything. And then later on, the guy who came to power has again used the farming community, and then he has sustained for two terms. So when a farmer has become a weapon and farmer is not getting anything, is there any way that all the farmers can unite and then fight? I know it is really tough, but are there any steps that are being taken so that all the farming community can come together and fight? You see the BJP yesterday in the Jail Baro Andolan, they are using the name of farmer. So farmer has become a weapon, and in turn he is not getting anything.
You are absolutely correct. The Charan Singh was the Prime Minister who always asked the farmer that they should look at their field and look at the Delhi also. But the farmers, when they become a voter, they vote as per their caste and greed, their political interest. They are not interested. They just forget that they are the farmers. Farmer suicide is the issue of opposition all the time. When Telugu Desam was power in Andhra, Congress used as a weapon. When Congress came, the Telugu Desam has been using. BJP, which is instrumental of promoting free trade and allowed the quantitative restriction lifting in 2004, now is asking about the farmer suicide and the protecting the farmer interest. So political parties in India are using as a weapon. You are absolutely right. When farmers are not united, this is the key issue. But keeping the farming community or rural community are organized is also an agenda. Try to understand. So, innocent, the knowledge and the ignorance is the issue with the farming community. Who is promoting the wrong technology with the farmers? Who are asking them to adopt this such market-sensitive cash crop which is volatile to the nature and the market also. So this is all well-planned agenda. And our governments and the political parties being run by the few multinational companies, that is the unfortunate part. And keeping the farmers unorganized, and there is no platform for the advocacy of the farmers in India, that is also a plan agenda. So try to understand that India as a consumer is the biggest market in the world, and farmers will not be allowed to produce what the people do not want. Try to understand. So you are asking me something and you are answering the same thing. I am absolutely right with you. When the farmers are being used as a weapon, they should act as a weapon. When the time will come, I cannot say. I am also a professional. When I look at the victimization, I am raising the voice. But such voices are also getting limited in India. But the NGOs who are there, they are stage managed. That is also unfortunate.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. We have another person, another listener asking a question on chat on nrisamay.com. His name is Bhaskar. I think he is from New Jersey, United States. He is saying, I want to ask if this issue of the genetically modified seeds was taken up with Greenpeace. Greenpeace is an NGO. He says that they are very active in fighting against the GM seeds and its use in farming. So he's asking if you or somebody has spoken to Greenpeace and they are working on this issue, sir.
No, Greenpeace has set an agenda. The genetically modified seed which is being promoted and officially commercial trials are being carried out is the BT cotton seed. And the farming community which are killing themselves mostly from the cotton field. But they are Darlan farmers. BT cotton seed cannot be a single issue. It's the multiple issues. But there is, as per the parliamentary committee report, they have visited my place recently. They have submitted the report with the parliament saying that there is a correlation of introduction of the BT cotton seed in India and increase in farmer suicides in India. So I can say the Greenpeace should ask that the Indian government should not promote the rain sensitive or assured irrigation facility seed, that is the BT cotton seed in a dryland region of India. So my case with the Marathwada or dryland region of the Andhra or Karnataka is the same. It's the same as Vidarbha. So we in Vidarbha are documenting farmer suicide, but when a national report comes, the farmer suicides in this dryland region is at par. So it is not the case that the Vidarbha cotton farmers are killing themselves. The case with the Indian cotton farmers who are killing themselves is the same is the case. So if Greenpeace wants to take the issue, they should talk about this the serious effects of the BT cotton seed. That is the only GM seed officially allowed.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. So the question I would like to ask next is, shockingly enough, there have been very little media coverage on this crisis, and that too often talks about some controversies such as disputing the suicide statistics. As part of your efforts as a president of Vidarbha Jan Andolan Samiti to highlight the crisis, have you engaged with the media, sir?
No, the paid news and a hostile media is the international issue. Now, multinational companies are governing the Indian prime electronics media and print media is affecting the campaign. That is the issue. But regional media is also biased to the farmer society. And the government has been documenting what they have not to document. They are just producing the fabricated data. But the National Crime Data Report and All Action Indicated Report reflects that gloomy picture. And if the farmers of Vidarbha is not in crisis and farmers are not committing suicide, what is forcing government to announce bailout packages after the bailout packages? We are documenting farmer suicides because we want to put the system professionally that the innocent people are killing themselves. But the government is always saying that there are multiple reasons of the suicide, and the social engineering is one of the critical issue. I also admit the government issue that the multiple issues are killing the system, but economic collapse is one of the most serious reason, and the cash crop in Vidarbha has brought this economic collapse. So restoration of economic system and social system is the responsibility of the state. So state has not become a welfare state. That is the most unfortunate part. So we are very critical. We are very critical. We want to have an economic system restored and social system restored. So we want to restore the system, and we are really afraid with this hostile democratic system and all pillars getting collapsed, in which the media is one of them. We are really hopeless. We should say that the role of the media is so irresponsible as far as the farmer suicide issue is concerned. That has irritated a lot. That has irritated a lot. And we will appreciate that one-man army which is covering in media is a peace signer. Is a man who is moving around the media and writing on this issue. But he is also being isolated, and thanks to that publisher of the Hindu that he is giving the space to it. Otherwise, we don't get a space in any printing vernacular media or a regional media, and all issues related to the agrarian community and a rural community is being ignored. And one should condemn the role of the media, which is electronic or printed, as far as the farmer society is concerned. I think first time in a decade I am speaking to the radio interview with such a larger length. I do not know who is the owner of the NRI Samay, but I am convinced that so-called people who are creating this vertical and horizontal monopoly are not controlling NRI Samay, thanks to the God.
Sir Kishorji, it is our honor to have people like you on the show. Actually, you mentioned P. Sainath. He was on NRI Samay too about a few months ago. So it is actually our honor and our responsibility that we talk about such important issues. Sir, I would like to ask you to tell us more about Vidarbha Jan Andolan Samiti, for which you are the president. Can you tell us what is the work that is being done?
Basically, I should clarify. I am basically a professional engineer, passed out from 1981. Then I did a master's in management, and I was working with the all marketing companies which are creating this monopolies in the world. But having worked for 17 years at the age of 37, I was fascinated with the being celebrity, politician being celebrity. So I joined the politics. And the party with the difference, I joined the BJP. But when I joined the BJP and saw the dirty politics in the political parties and left it. And from 1999 onward, we have been fighting for the cause of the poor. And our Vidarbha, mostly the tribals and Dalits are there. So we are right to food, right to live, the right to education, and integrated programs not being implemented. So we have been working against against corruption in public life and social justice to the masses. But in 2005, we have been trapped with the cotton farmers issue, and we are not getting out of it. Really. And I am a professional who was really wanted to be a celebrity with the help of politics. But when I realized that it is a dirty game, all politicians are accumulating the wealth at the cost of farmers and poor people of India, then I realized it. And we are not compromising at any level. I have left the idea of becoming a politician, and I have left the idea of joining the politics or becoming a power or lawmaker. Now I have realized that the bigger issue in Indian politics and Indian lawmakers is the transparency in public life. And we have creating all complicated issues of the policies due to the corruption at the top and the bottom. So India, the agrarian crisis cannot be taken away from it. But Vidarbha Jan Andolan Samiti is very committed. We have been fighting against the globalization. We have been fighting against the corruption in political life and public life. We are fighting against the injustice with the tribals and cotton farmers. Cotton farmers is one of the issues that we have been handling at a national human rights level from 2005. Maharashtra Human Rights Commission, UN Human Rights Commission, then High Court and Supreme Court. At all levels we have been fighting. But we were given false promises. The bailout packages were never directed to the redressal. So we are still optimistic that we will see the day on which we will not report a suicide to the world. We are really hopeful to that. But certain serious issues I have taken up with the NRI Summit, that Indian political system or the administrative system is getting collapsed due to these people who are joining it are irresponsible, and they are accumulating wealth at the cost of the farmer suicides and the poor tribals. That is the very unfortunate part, but we are living with that. That is the thing one has to address it.
Okay, excellent, sir. We have another caller. Can you please, sir, go ahead, Bhaskar Garu?
Yes. I wanted to ask, I was listening to Kishorji, and one of the points that he mentioned was these multinationals and some corporates are actually holding these rules, and they are sort of, making sure that their interests are held, and those interests are in conflict with the interests of the farmers. I didn't get the point very clearly. What are these conflicts? Number one, and in my normal understanding, I'm a layman in farming and all that, but I understand that farming is a joint effort. So if the farmers don't produce their cotton, the multinationals are not going to get their cotton. So there will be some common interest that will be good for both the multinationals as well as the farmers. Why are we not? Are we making sure that each one understands their role and they are cooperating with each other, or we are just going on, fighting on this without actually, clarifying the issues with each other?
Kishorji, you want to answer to that one?
No, Bhaskar is ready. That it should be ideal condition that multinational should protect the interest. While protecting their interest, they should protect the interest of the farmer. But I can introduce the things. The fact in 2005, the multinational introduced the crop, this BT cotton seed with the price. It was earlier to that the hybrid seed was costing only 600 rupees a kg, but they introduced the genetically modified seed costing 6,000 rupees a kg or 3,800 rupees a kg. So there is Monopoly Restricted Trade Practice Commission intervene with the writ petition of with the petition of the Andhra government. So unfair trade practices are not with the farming community. All unfair trade practices are with the multinational companies. They are being forced to compensate throughout the world. In India, the false promises were given to the farmers. Now, what is happening? If you are creating a monopoly in a certain product, you are just detecting the term. Now, the pesticide is being managed by same company, fertilizer being managed by same company, and the input seed is being manufactured by same companies. So what is happening there? They are just controlling the input, and at the output also, they are just buying at their level. So this is the unfortunate condition. So the stakeholders' claim should be fair, but this is unfair. Farmers are unorganized. Their claims are not taken care of, and their interest is not protected. That's the main reason. So cotton is needed to the industry, but if it is being forced to cultivate in such a manner that the surplus cotton is available throughout the world, and in some countries, the sale of the cotton is subsidized by the state, and export of the cotton is subsidized by the state. So the poor countries cannot do that. So the poor countries farmers or developing countries farmers will have to lose the money. And that is the case with India, with the contest of the cotton producer in America. So we are at the losing level. And a multinational company which is controlling in India is from United States only. The Monsanto has a monopoly in India in a cotton seed is a fact. And the role of the Monsanto for the cotton seed is the most important, whereas their control over the cotton in the world has to be discussed at length. This is a very serious issue. The farmers are killing themselves, and the people who are responsible are directly sitting in the United States. That is a very critical issue. We have a certain document that can prove it. Our allegations are not baseless, but that should be discussed at the very deep sense of knowledge and the seriousness. That is lacking at all the levels. You cannot say, I don't know the agriculture, I don't know the interest of the farming community. You should know that they are multinational companies, they are employing few thousand people, but you look at the quantity of the people which is being badly hurt. That is 40 crore population cultivating in agriculture or employed in agriculture is being hurt directly, and they are killing themselves. That is the very unfortunate part. So each farmer suicide, the responsibility goes with the same multinational companies, even though they are not saying that. They are claiming 20 quintal per acre, whereas the official yield is around 1 quintal a acre. That is what the expenses are in per acre 10,000. The yield is only 3,000 rupees. Farmers are losing 7,000 rupees per acre, and companies are earning. So net income of the Monsanto BT cotton sale is 70% from the India. And how can you say that they are not responsible? They are not protecting our farmers' interest. They should give the bailout package, what they are on as a part of a royalty from last 1 decade. Why BT cotton was introduced? Now why there is so much pressure on the government of India to introduce BT brinjal? What is there in brinjal? I do not know. But these are the very serious issues. They are killing the farming community and creating very complicated health issues also. So one has to understand that innocent victimization in such a larger scale and the killing of the farmers more than the Second World War, that is also a serious issue, and what should focus it? Protecting the Indian farming community, which is being subjected for such economic exploitation, is a very serious issue. Our government is hostile and not doing anything. That's our worry.
Great, sir. I would like to ask one question about NREGA. There was a talk, initially the farming was not included in that, the farming labor, but there was a talk that they would include the farming labor into the guarantee work, 100-day work guarantee program, which is NREGA. Do you know if NREGA has helped or hurt the farming community?
No, it is only discussed. Now it is the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Act,
Yes.
MNREGA. Yeah, they have introduced Mahatma Gandhi, prefix Mahatma Gandhi over it. But allowing 100 days for the farming work, that has not been formulated properly. Only few works in the farm that can be included in the NRG, but no state is implying to that. What is being done with the help of NREGA, the work is done with the machines, and fabricated mustards are produced in the name of the labor, and bills are passed. So NREGA is the biggest scam in India now. So people who are working in as a farm labor or farming work, that has to be included, that has not included, whereas our agriculture minister has recommended that a peak Kharif season, NREGA work should be stopped. So the farmers should get the labor. It is not, it is only a discussion. What we have been asking, that under the NREGA scheme, the fund allotted, the farmer should get a subsidy of the labor that he is paying, and direct subsidy should be given. What is they should count it with their family and their labor of the labor they employed, and they should give 50% subsidy directly to the farmer. Now the things which is the moralities, they are trying to work it out. The work they have listed to it doesn't help farmers to have such a cash crop like cotton. So NREGA being extended to the farmer is a hoax. It is not practically done as on today.
Okay, thank you, sir. So another policy, government policy, is that hasn't taken place, but that's been in discussions, is the foreign direct investment, which is FDI, in the retail sector. And what they have been saying, the government, is that if FDI is allowed, then they will build these godowns and they will buy in mass from the farmers. So can you give us your opinion about whether the FDI in retail sector will help or hurt farmers, and whether it's been introduced anyway? So what needs to be done? What are the regulations that needs to be done for them?
All activists in India are opposing FDI, but I was alone to say that FDI should be allowed, that market should reach to the farmers. That is very good thing. Now, what is being done by the exploiter? The banyas are also looting the farmers. So multinational companies coming to the farmers will save the farmer to certain extent. I am the only activist in India who is asking let us have FDI investment in infrastructure development to the village level. Now value addition is not done locally. That's our issue. So let us allow it. What is happening that infrastructure can be nationalized at any level. So people who are coming with the money should be welcome to create an infrastructure. That if they are coming for a marketing level, that's a very good thing. If the market reaches to the farmers in a village, farmer will have an advantage and alternative. Presently, there is a monopoly and cartel which is working there from last 100 years. Farmers are not getting fair price. That is a basic issue. Minimum support price is already less than the cultivation price. So, allowing market being generated by foreign direct investment or the Indian investment is always welcome. So, I am of the opinion, no harm to have a foreign direct investment in creating an infrastructure at the doorstep of the farmers. But in certain retails, I have an objection. So the FDI in retail should have a clear-cut mandate. There should be a clear-cut guideline that if a company wants to create infrastructure up to the village level and value addition is done at the village level, then it's the most welcome thing. If they want to create a monopoly and exploit the Indian consumers or poor innocent people, then that's a difficult thing to understand. But now, as a farmer, we are being exploited because now SMS is there. The writers like news agencies are giving the prices. So our small traders are also looking at the international prices and doing the trading. So why not? Why not the big giant comes to the village level and buy it? So I am very open as far as our opportunities are increased. But at the cost of the common people in India, that cannot be created. So creating an infrastructure or allowing a FDI for creating the infrastructure and creating the market facility at a village level, we welcome the move. We welcome the move and we are not opposing to that. But creating a monopoly and doing unfair trade practices in a retail, that is not allowed, and that should not be allowed at any level. But which is the consumer being exploited by existing traders in India is the worst than being exploited by the big malls. That is the truth one should understand. Our saukars, our baniyas are looting the farmers. That is the truth. I cannot say that they are the God and God should be saved at the cost of the FDI. Let us have two evils, two looters at one place, and then we'll have fair chance to fight it out.
Okay, great, sir. So you said about the FDI that it's great if they come to villages and build infrastructure, but you wanted to protect the consumer also. So can you specifically tell in one or two sentences what is the regulation that should be put if the FDI is allowed in the retail sector? What is that one or two regulations that you are looking for?
No, restricting the direct investment in retail for creating the infrastructure for the marketing purpose. So opening the market bazaars at lower level, buying at a farming level. So there should be given licenses to buy it, the produce, agriculture produce directly with the farmers. But they are only creating a mall and all these things. That is a very difficult thing. And giving a licenses to create a monopoly, that should not be there. So I don't want to say that the unfair regulation can attract the foreign direct investment also. The people who are putting the money in India should have a chance to earn it. Otherwise, nobody will do the charity. At least foreign direct investors are not doing the charity by coming to India. They want to make the money, so they are coming. So their chances of making the money should be there. But our farmer should get a fair price. Our rural community should have a larger employment opportunity. If that is protected, why we should have an objection to that? But the regulation should restrict their role to that extent that will be a larger interest. Because when such malls were created in London also, the London street corner shops were afraid of it. But now everybody is okay with the London corner shops are also flourishing and the malls are also flourishing. In India, we are a developing country. We have certain reservation and our political parties are very orthodox. They do not know the technology. They do not know the market forces being acting. They are not acting to the right direction, but they are overacting to the lot of issues which are undesirable. But as a professional, as a man who knows the market, we know who are exploiting the real issues. So you have created a monopoly in agriculture. That was unfortunate. Now there should not be a monopoly. You should create a parallel competition to that. You cannot do it. Now for FDI, you should have an environment. You should have an environment that a rural people or a rural interferer or a district level interferer should be given infrastructure finances for creating the infrastructure. Where is the professional policy in India? No, not the private India are also treated very badly. So FDI will not come, even in India allow it with certain stringent conditions. So conditions should be fair. Politicians should not try to make the money out of it, and all the time there should not be a calculator and commission game. So the thing will move fast. India, if you look at the context of the other South Asian countries, we have a larger opportunity to grow. But Indian politicians are not allowing it. That is the unfortunate part. Professional people are not getting elected. All illiterate domas who are casting the votes are just electing the irresponsible parties and the people to govern, and that is created a lot of chaos in the international interference also. So, the larger extent, we are losing at both the end. At the village level also, we are not getting the opportunities to grow, and at the larger level also, we are not getting the investment to grow. So now we are, people like us who are talking about the rights of the farmer should also look at the rights of the interferer also. So I am of the opinion that when the rights of the farmers are protected, and they will be getting fair chance to have a proper market, I will be of the opinion that the FDI should be allowed in retail to develop the infrastructure. No problem at all.
Okay, great, sir. Sir, in Andhra Pradesh, I know from, at least from my friends back in India, so in Andhra Pradesh, they say that farmers are, the young farmers are not getting married because nobody wants to give their daughter to them. And P. Sainath ji was mentioning that farmers actually don't have any rights, like right for education or right for health care or any of the basic necessities, and they don't have any of those. So in these circumstances, do you see the next generation, like youngsters, getting into farmers, or what is happening to them? What is their process, from what you have seen in Vidarbha and across India?
We have a welfare scheme for the farm labor. But farmers are not entitled to that. Just like our cotton growers are not producing the food, but universal food security is not given to them because they are a farmer. Just like health care, we are providing to free health care insurance for the farm labor. That is not extended to the island. Farmers are the farmers. Like education also, it is being subsidized to the farm labor, and it is not being given free to the farmers. Likewise also. So we have been demanding a complete food security, health security, professional education free of cost to the farmers. So the farmers' kids who want to withdraw it, they will withdraw professionally, not the killing themselves. That is a very unfortunate. Our Prime Minister said a farming sector has been overburdened with the people. So he cannot withdraw like this, asking the people to kill themselves. People will be withdrawn professionally. If you give free education of ITI, polytechnic, engineering, medical to the kids of the farmers, they will do that. Now the privatization in education is killing the farming community. Now you have asked whether a layman will give the daughter to a farmer's son. Why he should give it? When he knows that the farmer is in lot of problems and is an economic crisis and farmers are killing themselves, why he will ask his daughter to get married with the boy who will commit suicide after 2-3 years? So this is a serious issue. And our politicians are always saying 40% people who are in the agriculture want to withdraw it. Now, if they want to withdraw it and you have a report of NSSO or what not, of National Commission of Farmers and not, what is the action at the state level? A policymaker should address the issue. 50% population want to get withdrawn, they should be withdrawn very professionally. You have not done it. You are just repeating the Korea and other small countries where the farming population was in very small sector, they have eliminated the farmer. Now, any attempt to eliminate the farmer will create a lot of complications.
Friends, that was Kishore Tiwari ji, and we looks like we had a bad connection and he dropped off. Please listen to this song just for a minute, and when we are back, we will be live again with Kishore ji to conclude the show. Thank you, friends. I'll be back in just a minute. Until then, please listen to this song.
तुझे है पुकारा, ये वो बंधन है जो कभी
आप सब आ गए हो, मैं चैन से मर सकता हूँ।
अपनी चौखट का दिया और गिविंग लाइट टू नेबर्स हाउस।
मैंने तय कर लिया विनोद, मुझे वापस जाना है।
फिर वही बात, तो एक लड़की के लिए वापस कैसे जा सकते हैं? जस्ट परसुएड हर टू कम हियर।
वो बात नहीं है, ये सिर्फ गीता और कावेरी अम्मा के बारे में नहीं।